Good evening, everybody. This video is about Ielts speaking. So when it comes to speaking, it is a challenge for many students. Not in terms of that they are not, good speaker, they lack in vocabulary words. It is speaking, again, I always say, is a gradual process. The first need is to understand that what comes in part 1, part 2 and part 3. And preparation for each part is different. So let me explain that. When it comes to part 1, all basic questions need to be prepared, such as talk about your hometown, the job you are in, do you like your job, and what duties you perform at work, how do you travel, and all basic questions about your likes, your dislikes, your hobbies, and do you like gardening, all basic questions. So you need to understand one thing. When it comes to part 1, it is not about describing yourself to an extent. It is, you have to be as natural as you can. For an example, if someone asks you a question about that, how do you travel? So one way which I feel is a close-end answer could be, I travel by metro or I travel by a car, right? So it's a very close-end answer, which means that you just answered it. You did not express yourself. So when it comes to open-end answers, or maybe interactive answers, it could be that yes, well, traveling in my city is very tough, and I travel sometimes by public transport, such as metro, or maybe sometime by private transport, my own car. I believe traveling is more hectic on weekends. So on weekends I prefer to travel or to commute in a metro as compared to private transport. So it's you need to be very clear that you have to be a little descriptive, interactive while answering questions. It is a proficiency test. They really check that whether you are a natural speaker or you have crammed your speech. That really matters when it comes to Ielts speaking. Coming to part 2, which is very different from part 1. Part 2 is known as a cue card question. So a cue card question means that they want you to speak at length for almost 2.5 minutes, right? And let's say that the main topics which can come in part 2 could be a book you have recently read, and maybe a person you admire, or maybe a wedding you have recently attended, or any kind of different questions, such as talk about a foreign friend you have recently met or you met in the past. So make sure it is what I suggest to my students. It's good to prepare yourselves in prior, because if you try these answers ad hoc or offhand, you will tend to make mistakes, because how many of us really sit and discuss on these topics? It's very important that you plan your speaking and then talk about. For an example, if you just say the book you have recently read, and if you haven't prepared, you may not recall the name of the book. You may not recall the experience you had while reading it. You can just say that, oh, the book I like is this, and I really liked it because it was interesting. I spent almost a week to complete it, and I can recommend this book to a lot of people. So what I'm trying to say is that your answer will be good, but your answer may not go for 2.5 minutes. That is a challenge that you need to meet. So for that, good preparation is required. Coming to part 3, you all the candidates must understand the questions which are asked in part 3, they are out of part 2 only. So let's say you have spoken on a book you have recently read. The next set of questions could be why did you read that book? How reading books can help people, how it can change lives, why reading books is important for school children. It could be all relevant questions related to part 2. So how we help you here at our center. Now let me tell you that if you have topics which are frequently asked in prior in your hand, I think your journey will be easier. So if you know relevant vocabulary related to these topics, your time will be, less consuming. And if you know everything, that all prompt questions which are asked and how they are different from part 1 and part 3, I think that keeps your speaking very sorted. So if you are looking for any kind of assistance, any kind of model answers, any kind of trial class, kindly contact us. We will try to serve you to the best of our ability. Thank you very much.